These are strange times. Many people in America are stuck at home, and for many parents, being cooped up all day long, every day, all the time, with your kids could understandably make you feel like this. But following a few simple rules might make this experience help you feel a little bit more like this. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Brett Pierce, child psychologist, coming at you with another coronavirus 2020 crisis video. But before we jump into 3 useful tips for dealing with being cooped up all the live long day with kids during the quarantine, let's talk about the 3 T's. So the first T is indeed tea, and right now, and I've again got my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mug, drinking herbal tea because it's late and I want some herbal tea to relax me. The second T is the toy, and today I am showing off my cute pink snail, looks like it came from like the Labyrinth movie, Muppets style toy. I don't even remember where I got this thing. And then finally, the third T for today is the talk. And very simply for today, we're going to talk about 3 survival tips for being cooped up at home with your kids, which understandably is going to be a stressful situation for pretty much everyone involved. It's probably pretty new territory for many families, and so it's understandable if there is an adjustment period that can be kind of hard. So, without further ado, let's jump in. So the 3 tips are as follows. So I'm going to mention them and then go into some details. So the first tip is going to be to make sure that you never assume that your kids really know how to share. We'll talk more about this in a second. The second tip is to remember that kids need a lot of loud, silly, active, running around time. And so we might have to get a little creative depending on your living circumstances to make sure that they get it every day. And the third tip is going to be about how it is very good for us adults to always focus on ourselves when we're frustrated or overwhelmed in this kind of a situation, and what we can do to fix the situation without necessarily demanding that our kids be the one to change their behavior. So let's dive into the first one, which is that it can be very, very problematic to assume that your kids know how to share. So I imagine this is most applicable to folks who have more than one kid at home during the quarantine. And so there's probably 2 things happening in that situation. First, your kids want to play together all the time. They're probably, in many ways, kind of excited to have a lot of extra time to play, brothers, sisters, things like that. Maybe friends coming over, although, I imagine with the quarantine, that's not necessarily happening a ton. And so the second thing that's going to happen in that situation, of course, is that kids are going to fight a lot. Now, the first mistake that I see folks make in this situation is that they are focused too much on the toy. And fights are basically never really about objects or tasks. They're more about people and relationships. And so what we have to do is really make sure that during this quarantine time, we're helping kids learn how to share. And this means doing things like setting the rule yourself as the adult in this situation, enforcing the rule, using a cell phone and a timer on a cell phone can be very, very useful. And then facilitating dealing with the changeover once the timer's up. So one example that I imagine is applicable to many households is, say, the Xbox or Nintendo Switch or PlayStation, the video games. There's nothing wrong with video games per se, in my opinion. And kids very often fight over them. So very often what I see that needs to happen in situations like this is that we have to lay out the rule. Each kid's going to get 15 minutes and then we have to switch and it's going to be someone else's turn to play. And we have to oversee the process, kind of hand over hand it until kids start to learn how to share better, and then we can start to kind of back off. Many parents, out of frustration, which is, it's understandable to be frustration, resort to yield, let them fight until finally we get frustrated and just take the thing away that they're fighting over. And I promise you, taking the thing away is not going to help them learn how to share. So that's tip number one. Really helping kids share. Is it going to solve everything when it comes to kids fighting? No, but it's a step in the right direction. So tip number two for surviving the coronavirus quarantine 2020 situation is remember that kids need a lot of loud, silly, active running around time. So if it's probably easily solved if you're in a situation where you've got a yard where your kids can run around in a lot every day. Try to make that just a thing, that's built into the routine. You just go outside after breakfast or lunch or whatever it is that you want to do. And kids need to run around a lot and be noisy and loud. If you're in a situation where you can't really do that for whatever reason, you could try doing something indoors if you've got the space to maybe have like a family hide and seek or something like that. There's nothing wrong with a Nerf war, if you ask me. If you don't quite have the space for that, there's not really any space in your house or apartment to run around, then at least designating an hour or two of time where the whole point of it is to be as loud and as silly as you can possibly be with whatever it is you're doing. So if kids are playing games or whatever, they're allowed to be very, very, very loud and silly. And that at least should help kids get that kind of energy out and get that level of just high intensity, we're playing and having fun kind of thing. If you try to mandate we're going to be pretty quiet and indoorsy the whole time, that's going to be a real challenge for many kids. So do your best. Sometimes you might have to be creative, but if you're running into some problems, then that's an idea for you to think about. All right, let's talk about the third tip, which is probably something that many folks don't often want to hear. But in general in life, it works well to always focus on yourself and to really ask yourself, okay, so I'm frustrated or I'm irritated, I'm overwhelmed, I'm concerned, maybe because my kids are being loud or something like that. Who does the problem really belong to? And if your kids are perfectly happy and doing well, otherwise they're simply being loud or they're doing some things that annoy you, the truth is the problem belongs to you. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means that the problem belongs to you. And so it's a good thing for us adults in that situation to think about, well, what are some things that I can do to deal with this without making demands from my kids to change their behavior? And there's a good chance that your smartphone plus your headset, they're going to be some of your best friends right now. If you find yourself feeling really kind of overwhelmed with having kids at home all day, every day, all the time, which is to say, plop them in and, listen to this YouTube video, listen to some music, play a game, do whatever it is you got to do to take care of the situation on your own. There's nothing wrong with setting some reasonable expectations for how loud we can be and, when we can be loud and things like that. But if our only way of handling the situation right now is to focus on demanding that kids change their behavior all the time to suit the circumstance, well, that's going to be frustrating for everyone. Kids just don't have the same kind of self-control that we adults have. Hey, and sometimes we adults can struggle too with that. So that's understandable. So bottom line is try to focus first and foremost on what you can do to deal with your concerns. If you're just feeling overwhelmed by noise or lots of kids running around climbing all over you a bunch, it's totally understandable to be frustrated in that situation. Try to focus on what you can do on your own to take care of it. And then if that doesn't work, then see about other avenues. So at any rate, I hope everyone watching this video is staying safe out there. Man, what a situation. Last week, we here in Utah, which is where I am, we had an earthquake, a 5.7 earthquake on top of it. It's just been a remarkable series of events. So stay tuned for more videos in the next coming weeks about other ways that we can help deal with kids and various behavior problems that might be coming up during the quarantine. Otherwise, this is Dr. Brett Pierce, hoping that you'll click to subscribe if you find my content useful. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.